Today I'm going to be looking at this AWA CRT television. This would be made by Mitsubishi. I guess, I don't know, what it would be, mid-80s or something, early to mid-80s I guess. I think these had an ML chassis in them, one of the later sort of flatter, more modern sort of chassis. What is it, C3416 is the model number. And this is a little bit fancier than a lot of the ones, yeah, made in Japan, made in those days. Still only a RF only set. We've got the rabbit's ears on top, but it's actually looks to be a remote model because we've got a standby light. We've got push button controls for everything. They were still basically putting these out with a pair of rotary tuners in this era. So I think I've got one of those somewhere that may have this chassis, or it may be the earlier one, but they did. And I think they also even had some of the Thorn ones with the same chassis, which are quite old, looking like that other Thorn single rotary set I had on here. Still in quite an old looking case. I think a wood grain, fake wood grain sort of plastic finish. And they look quite ancient still. But I think this one is meant to be a goer, so we'll give it a run and see what it does. Looks like it comes on full volume, so maybe that's set in memory or something. I'll get the pattern generator set up on it. So it looks like it's only got 11 channels there. Mute doesn't really mute it, it sort of mutes it. Oh, makes a little farty sound. Don't think that's affected by the volume. Yeah, interesting. Not sure what that's about. Unfortunately I don't have a remote for it, but you didn't see a lot of the remotes for these sets. Yeah, pattern generator is on, so how do we... tuning on the side by the look of it. Yeah, I think this has to be an ML chassis with all that. So it looks like brightness, sharpness, colour. Well, that might be brightness level, that must be contrast. We've got a sub volume, that might be what we want. And channel number set, tuning, so it looks like you probably just tune it in and then set the channel number you want to store it on. And I just hit the on off button. Where's that sub volume? Oh, that was turned right up. Doesn't stop the farting sound. Yeah, that's that minimum sub volume. That must be something to do with what it comes at. Yeah, I think that's contrast by the look of it. Brightness. Still got a good tube in it by the look of it. Hasn't had too many hours use. Tuning switch on. I don't think we've got, yeah, we've just got a flashing channel. I say no on-screen display or anything. VL we want. I can already hear it. So, oh, it's actually a manual tuning. It's got a little wheel to turn around. Well, I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting an up-down tuning. Is it the right spot? I think it is. Oh, there it is. Maybe. There. Didn't think I was on the right thing. And then we select channel number 2. Turn off the tuning switch. Oh, there must be a it's a memory. Of course there's a memory button. Well, at least it didn't move. Ah, well, so much for memory. Oh, there it is, channel 2. Oh, channel 2's in there twice. What the hell? Oh, it changed channel 1 to channel 2. Oh, maybe it actually changes the channel number. You gotta be kidding me. So if I make that 7 and tuning off, we now go channel 07234. So someone's obviously never changed the channel numbers. That's a bit crazy. I don't think I've ever noticed that on one of these. There weren't a lot of these around, these remote ones, because they were quite a bit more expensive than the common twin rotary or mechanical push button type ones. Oh, I might just leave that on. Oh, we can go right up into the 30s, 40s. Wow. So we can go 069 too. Oh, that's pretty crazy. Oh, it's got a U, a C, an F. Well, that's a bit different. I think it was channel 1 originally, this one, wasn't it? We'll just keep them in number order for now, but oh, there you go. Not sure what they use for memory in these. I don't think they've got a battery or anything like some of the Philips. I think this must be getting into the first non-volatile sort of memory. Could be a super cap or something in there, not sure what they used. Now, oh yeah, we've got vertical hold as well. Brightness level, I guess if we go to the, oh, I can turn the colour down, can't I? Oh yeah, we should just be seeing that grey bar. It's the ideal sort of brightness. Plenty of colour saturation, goes way overboard on that. We've got a sharpness, and you can see that affect these little edge bits. Dull them down a bit or make them worse. And that's the contrast. So the geometry should be pretty good on this set. Perfect purity. We do have a little bit of convergence out up here. The red's off a bit. Well, it's off over quite a bit of the screen actually, as we can see there. So it's certainly not perfect. Bit of pin cushion there. Would have been perfectly acceptable for general television use though. And we've got, yeah, the standby on off. So it farts on everything. I wonder if you can see, you can't set the volume it comes on, I guess. So yeah, we'll have a look inside the thing, I guess. I think these are a live chassis. I'm pretty sure there's no transformer in these. It probably tells you something on the back. Oh god, its socket is tight as. Probably another sign it hasn't been used that much. A warning, dangerous, live chassis. The usual stuff. At least it doesn't have a transformer on the back panel like some of these things, so it should be fairly easy to work on. I think the whole back just comes off. Although, looking at the antenna socket, what's it saying under here? Warning, this chassis is live. Well, have we got screws under here? That's interesting. As in, one's going up there. So that's a bit of a different design. Don't remember seeing that on these, but it has been a while since I looked at one, and they were very reliable, these TVs. Pretty rare you ever saw one to fix just because of the reliability. This was a sort of golden era of Japanese TVs really. Sort of probably from sort of 83 to maybe as late as 88, but certainly around 86 and somewhere around there they really peaked for just super reliable, partly because there's not a lot in them anymore. They perfected the parts and the design of these things, but then of course the Koreans put out all this cheap stuff and the Japanese tended to go downhill a bit from there to compete. Their TVs are normally pretty good still. The video certainly went down in quality. So these are certainly one of the peak Mitsubishi TVs, I guess. Though they did keep making really good TVs, Mitsubishi. Okay, it looks like it's had a bit of water in it at some stage. And oh, there is a transformer on the back. Must be a standby power transformer or something. We've got a little bit of metal wrapped around the antenna socket. We've got to unplug that. And yeah, we've got a transformer in here. Obviously I see it say 240 in and something else low voltage out, although we've got another little transformer on the board here. There's a lot of transformers for a live chassis set, but is that a transformer or some other sort of inductor? Oh, we've got a big, one of the great big old remote receivers up there next to the channel display. Got a 34 JBQ00X colour picture tube. doesn't have a date code, I think. Mitsubishi Electric Japan. And these were fully made in Japan at this stage, I think. But they were probably still assembling. I think the wooden, large wooden versions, 63 centimetres and stuff, were still assembled in Australia, at least with the cabinet and stuff was made here, I think. And they were still, of course, being sold under the AWA Mitsubishi brand, which ended somewhere around this time, I think. I forget, we didn't look up online what year it was. And they started putting the Mitsubishi name on things. So there's the regulator, SDR450, 2SD869 line output transistor. This would be one of the last in the TO3 case. Probably one of the last SDRs in the TO3 case for that matter. Before they went all flat pack with the ICs. Those ones I think had a resistor and a diode or something inside those. There's a couple of other, they're not just a plain transistor. I think the damper diode's built in, and possibly a resistor from, what was it, base to emitter or something. And yeah, nothing really exciting to see in it. It's a bit dirty, and it's definitely been wet at some stage. We've got a big 51353 chip there, which is the IF, I think, and we do have a proper jungle chip in this. This was just when the jungle chips were becoming a thing, which is an M51310P. But that still isn't, what are they using for the actual controls in this thing? Because I'm not sure this is really a microprocessor set as such. I don't think there's anything on those boards. It all comes down, there's, oh yeah, there it is, it's hiding under the wiring. There is a micro, I'm going to say there probably have to be something. 50124-001SP, and I think that's the memory chip there, a 58653 or something. Yeah, I think that was the processor memory chip. There's a relay there to turn it on and off. That's the chopper transformer over here for the power supply by the look of it. Horizontal drive transformer. And yeah, one of these would be the standby. What's that? That's an audio. Oh, I wonder if that's an audio out. Does this thing have a headphone socket? I don't think it does. Oh yes, it does. Ah, so it's got isolated audio. Oh, it does too. Didn't even notice that. So there's a headphone socket there. Comes off this speaker. Got some extra thick insulated wires which come back to here. And that would be an isolation transformer for that, so that you don't potentially electrocute yourself with your headphones. And like I say, I assume this other one, it goes back to the power input. It must run the microprocessor or something. Comes back to the little plug here. And that you've got to have something running, basically your remote receiver and your microprocessor, so it can accept the signal when it's in, when the rest of the TV's off, basically. So you've got to have a separate power supply to run your remote section, so that's always basically running as long as that main power switch isn't turned off. If you've got a standby light and stuff, that's being powered by this separate transformer rather than the main switch mode. And when that receives a signal, the microprocessor turns that relay on over there. There's one over here, black square thing there, and that then turns the main switch mode power supply on. Basically hooks at 240 volts, I assume, into a bridge rectifier, into this big filter cap here, and then that goes across over the other side here by the look of it to the chopper transformer over near the horizontal, and that fires everything else up. So yeah, nothing too exciting. I'm just going to have a quick look underneath the board. I think these did suffer from occasional dry joints on things like the horizontal drive transformer. It's got a reasonably small tuner in it. Definitely needs a good dusting out as well. Probably should unplug that transformer really, but let's loosen it off a bit. Oh, you're not coming. board off as well, for safety's sake at least. So that's basically how you had to work on most of these things, face down, board out. So I always used to resolder this area around here. I think that's your vertical outputs, and you get a few dry joints around there. Horizontal drive transformer looks alright in this. I think they used to go in these, used to get the occasional one. Depends how much use they've had and how much they've been bumped around and stuff. That's definitely your power section. Looks all fine in this one. That area wants a bit of a resolder. Generally all this low signal stuff is fine, but I think I might have had these chassis with the relay having dry joints on it. I can't spot it right now. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Smaller than I expected. Got your coil, what's it called? K701 or something. Sometimes those 240 volt connections can get dry. There's an inductor there, looks a bit dry. The PTC for the degaussing looks a little bit iffy around there. Oh, there's a link next to it. There's an inductor there, L901, looks a bit dodgy. The rest of it, not too bad. Yeah, those joints might last another 30 years or something, who would know? But I normally just go over and give it a quick going over just to make sure none of those things are intermittent or likely to go intermittent anytime soon. So definitely that inductor wants doing in the power section. Don't want any dry joints there. It's on one of the bridge rectifier diodes. That little link. PTC never hurts to resolder those because they were known places where you get a dry joint and that could then burn up a bit. A couple of hot areas over here by the look of it. Not that bad though, that little diode maybe. These are definitely on their way. And you know, with a lot of vibration stuff, they would probably fail eventually. But I don't think anyone's going to be lugging this around the countryside watching it and stuff. Like, not like they used to. Drive transformer I might just redo just for the hell of it. What's that, T551? That inductor's good. Already looked at the power section. End pin on that chip doesn't look perfect, but I think it's just the way the soldering is in the light. The rest of that's probably fine. I don't think we even had any scratchy pots or anything on that. Like I say, very well built in this area. They sort of perfected the design of the TVs and the parts, and there's a lot less parts than some of the earlier TVs. So they were a very good era. Not good if you're repairing the things for a living, because you didn't see many of these, but they were great for the consumer that purchased them. Slot in very easily. I guess the neck board I should check for dry joints, but I don't think they got much wrong there. You've got your screen adjustments, red, green and blue screen adjustment there, and red drive, blue drive. If the colour balance gets out, which if it's had a high hours tube, it could be, but this one seems to be fine. Grayscale and everything looks perfect. This is your typical sort of lower hours TV. Obviously screen and focus. It's got a standard kind of more modern style line output transformer in this, even though I think the couple of chassis before this were the same pretty much, especially the portables. And yeah, that's about it really. I don't remember seeing any tubes got in these. The yokes, all that sort of thing are fine. I think these have got good wedges. Pretty sure they never played up in these. These are all much better quality than the Korean ones. And the ones like Philips used in there, I don't know where those tubes and that in those Philips 1084 monitors came from, but they may well have been Korean or something. Got a nice big Mitsubishi badge on the speaker even. 8 ohms 2 watt Japan. Nice shielded one there. So that's about it for this one. Not really much else to show. I'll take this and give it a clean out. And yeah, that's about it. I'll put it back together and stick it on the shelf, I think. It's not an awful lot of use for anything, but a nice little RF set. I'll keep an eye out for a remote for it. Probably some, I can't remember if the Mitsubishi's remotes all use the same code or not, but I get a feeling there was a few from the same sort of era would operate each other, but then they may have changed them again after that, so I'll have to keep an eye out. Definitely not that old ultrasonic remote I had somewhere. Well, that won't run it, that's a bit too old. I'm not sure what infrared codes they use, but you used to be able to get the universal remotes, I think would run these alright. So I'll give that a good clean up. One thing I noticed when cleaning this is you don't actually have to take these two little screws off here. They're just little plastic brackets in there that are also clipped on to hold the board in place, or guide it as the back slides on. So you do have to only take the main 6 big screws out of it. So thanks for watching.